Hello everybody, this is Bev here, Clarkovision, and I'm here to do my response to the thread, which you'll have seen in the description, for 10 terrible albums that are not semi-anger. So this thread was kind of inspired by Metal Mickey put out a video just showing two death metal albums that he'd picked up kind of off the cuff, I guess. Kind of quickly listened to a tiny wee bit of them, thought they sounded great, and when I got them home he changed his mind after listening to them, kind of thing. So that was the inspiration, and then I think it was an idea that sprung up between Metal Mickey and Jurgen Auman across in Germany, and so they both jumped on and fired out videos showing 10 albums that they think are pretty rubbish in their collection. And so it's basically 10 poor albums that you actually own, and it's a case of, why do I still own them? You know, what are they still doing here, kind of thing, if you don't really rate them. So I've actually got 11 here. I could have maybe had 12 or 13, but I thought I don't want this to go too long. You know me. So I'll just get going. So the first one is a cassette, and it's Asia, and I think this is maybe their third album or fourth, and this is, what is it? This one is Astra. This is from 1985. Now everybody's probably aware of Asia. For me, their most well-known was Heat of the Moment, which I think was off their debut album. Great song. And I picked this up for £1 or something in a charity shop ages ago, and I can't get into it. I struggled with their first two albums as well. They're sort of a British kind of prog rock supergroup kind of band, and it just, there is one song on here that I like, which is the opening track called Go on side 1 here, if you can make that out. That's the only song I quite enjoy. It's kind of upbeat, it's got a bit of life about it, and after that it's kind of rubbish. I just don't like it. It's too bland, it's too not very exciting. So that is Asia's Astra. Another cassette, Great White and Twice Shy. So again, a lot of people will know Great White, kind of that term I detest with all my heart. You know, the glammy hair era bands from America, that kind of style. I think this album it's the follow-up to One Spittin', and that is my favourite album from Great White out of what I've heard, which is not a lot actually. I owned that album from back in the day on CD. Really like that album. Some great tracks in it, and this one came out as the follow-up, and it doesn't do the same thing for me at all. It's fairly standard, fairly average sounding, and it just sounds like filler all the way through for me, to be honest. There's nothing that grips me about this album at all, so for me it's a bit of a letdown compared to the last one. I tend to not really want to pull this out and listen to it very often, so that's number 2. Number 3 is by Adam Baum. Again, another American kind of guitarist, singer guy, who had a solo career. He was involved with bands like, was it something like Black and Blue, and maybe there was another, wait a minute, I'll just check, TKO, Aye, that was the other one I had heard of. Black and Blue, Steel Pulse, and he's worked with Michael Monroe in the past of Hanaway Rocks fame. So yeah, this is one of his solo albums. Now the work on here was recorded at the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s, but it was never released until 2001. And the album is called The New York Times, and the only reason I have this album in my collection is because of this bit on the cover here. That's Adam Baum with Steve Clark. That's why I have this. No other reason. Well, at the time I'd never heard it before, and I listened to it and I don't like the music. It's very, just kind of bluesy, rock and roll guitar. It's kind of it reminds me a lot of kind of the Rolling Stones kind of style of music. Plus I'm not too keen on his voice either. Very glam sounding as well, and it's just not kind of my taste at all. So the Adam Baum's New York Times. Cool cover for that section, but poor album. One of my favourite bands, Accept. And this album, I think, if I've got it right, it was one of the three kind of reunion type albums when Udo came back and joined them. I think it was the third, actually, of them, of the three, before Udo departed again. And Predator from 1996. And from all the Accept albums I have, and I have quite a few now, but I don't have everything. This is my least favourite of the lot. It's very underwhelming, uninspiring. It's to me, it's like a filler. It's like a kind of album full of leftover ideas that weren't really that good. It's as if they were kind of lacking inspiration a bit, I think, with this album, because I kind of got bored with it. And I've only listened to it twice, and as far as Accept goes, it's not one I would definitely reach for right away. I don't know what kind of mood I'd need to be into. I'd probably just pick this one off the shelf in so many years' time to remind myself what it actually sounded like. That's probably when I would next listen to it. Hang on a second, I've got all these stupid sleeves. Next one. This is going to be one of the ones where a lot of people are going to think I'm insane, but no, I'm perfectly sane. Countdown to Extinction. This is absolutely depressing to me. It is the most miserable album I think I own in my collection. It is dreary, it is dull, it is, as I say, depressing. The whole, the keys of which the songs are in, it's the same thing, and if you want to feel miserable, this is the one to pull out and stick on, which I just don't understand. That's not what music's about for me, so sorry Megadeth fans, and I know this comes in high on a lot of people's Megadeth rankings, but this came bottom of my ranking for the very reason that it is utterly depressing. So sorry guys, but that album just does not do anything for me. The next CD here is it's a recent VCLT, and it's the most recent of all the Pure albums I'm showing here. This is a 2019 release, and it was very kindly given to me. Brian Adams, an artist I do appreciate and do enjoy. However, this is his album called Shine a Light, and that's the back, and he does a duet here with Jennifer Lopez, which is a kind of ballady thing. And yeah, I do like Bryan Adams, but I like his early 80s, well, his 80s stuff, but that's about it really. He's one of these artists who was kind of good back in the day, but kind of petered out a bit for me in terms of the quality of his musical output. This, to me, is just not inspiring. It's not classic Bryan Adams, obviously. You could say it's a bit like Iron Maiden. It's not 80s Iron Maiden. This is not 80s Bryan Adams. But whereas modern Iron Maiden's still good and interesting, this isn't, unfortunately, for me. It's kind of country rock in a lot of places. It's just nothing very flashy about it for me at all, unfortunately. So I'll probably be passing that on at some point. Another one which I bought and I was kind of disappointed in, Kiss, Hot in the Shade. Again, this followed on the back of Crazy Nights, which was for a long time the only Kiss album I ever owned, and I wanted to get this one as it was the follow-up to that, and I knew it had Hide Your Heart on it, track 3, and it's basically the only song I really enjoy. This is a 15-track album. One of the things that puts me off is it's very long, and because again I feel it's just, compared to Crazy Nights, it's a big letdown for me. It's just a bit like the Great White one. Crazy Nights, I pretty much like that entire album, whereas on this one there's about 1.5 songs that I quite enjoy. I mean, besides Hide Your Heart, which I think is a great song, there is Love's a Slap in the Face is alright, and Silver Spoon's alright. They're kind of a bit more catchy, but everything else, to me, there's not much spark and fire about it, and I think, as I say, I think it's too long, and it was just a bit of a letdown from Kiss. Again, it could be where there was a lot of leftover ideas from previous albums, and this is them, so no. And the last of the CDs, from a band which, again, quite well known. They originated from the new wave of British heavy metal, Praying Mantis. They really only released the one album back in that time, 1981 is when they released their Time Tells No Lies. I've got it over there just so I could remember. That was a fantastic album. And I also have a Praying Mantis album from 2018 called Gravity. This is really good. This is very, very good stuff. This one is kind of in the middle of all that. This was released in the year 2000. It's called Nowhere to Hide, and it's just quite boring and nothing spectacular at all. It's another album. I haven't listened to it in a while, but I remember getting really bored with it, and the songs were just very basic and uninspiring. Again, nice artwork. That's probably about the best thing about the album. But yeah, so Nowhere to Hide from Praying Mantis wasn't the best experience I've ever had. And the last 3 I've got here are records. I had this one on the other day because I hadn't played it for ages and couldn't really remember what it was like, and I thought, was it really as bad as I thought? But kind of is. This is a band, Tradia. Now, again, I reminded myself of their discography, so if I just bring the window over here. According to Discogs, they only ever released 3 albums. This was the debut, Trade Winds. They're a band from New Jersey, America, and this came out in 1988. You'd think in 1988 they might have been really quite popular at the time. It's kind of very much an AOR style album. This kind of hard rock, but softer hard rock, as I say, AOR. But no, again, it just doesn't. It's not floating my boat. It's the songs. There's one or two interesting bits of guitar in it, but overall, the whole songs, they just don't hold my attention. And I'm listening to it and I'm thinking it's kind of like a poor man's Michael Bolton, if you like, kind of on that sort of lines. Whereas Michael Bolton, I remember he released a couple of songs in the late 80s, about 89, 90. And my brother got the CD singles, I think, because I remember liking them. Steel Bars and How Can We Be Lovers, they were great kind of hard rock tracks. But they're much better than anything that's on here. This is just dull in comparison to something like that, for example. So Tradia and Trade Winds, probably not so well known. Again, this one should be more well known. Shout and In Your Face, is it? In Your Face, yep. So Christian hard rock, melodic metal kind of thing, from 1980. What the heck was this? 1985 or something. It doesn't have the date on the back, but it's from the 80s, obviously. Or is it 87 or 88, maybe, something like that. Anyway, it's on Music for Nations. It's Music for Nations 92, so it's probably actually towards the late 80s, maybe. So, second album, and this album would have been a decent album had somebody been in charge enough to say, to control the guest guitar players that appear on here. What ruins it for me is I've said this before, I think, is the overplay on the guitar solos. What ruined it for me was you can be sitting, listening to the songs, and it'll cut to the guitar solo and start off, and then it'll go on and it'll go on, and the idiot on the guitar, he'll just get more and more I don't know, up his own arse, shall we say, and just start ruining the song by just playing a whole bunch of notes that actually detract your attention from the song to the point where you're like, what am I listening to here? You all of a sudden you're like, what is this rubbish I'm suddenly hearing? That's what this does for me, and somebody in the studio should have told those idiots to hold back or discipline themselves. It's poor musicianship, in my opinion. It's just, idiots showing off, and unfortunately that ruined the album. The first album's a lot better because it's not nearly as ruined, but that's what ruins this for me, is just overplaying the guitar and self-indulgent nonsense, basically, and it's a shame because the album could have been much better. And the bonus one, number 11, yep, this one, a lot of people seem to love this as well. Nah, Out of the Cellar. Can somebody tell me what the heck the big deal about this is, please? It's very standard. There's one song on here which I've said before is not bad, and that is I'm Insane, the second last track. I know Round and Round is one of the most well known of this, but I'm sorry, I just feel that Rat are not very amazing at all. They're quite standard. What's the word? Somebody else used the word, and it was kind of a good word to describe. Just average. There are much better bands of this style, and from the time, that are way better than this band. They're just not as up there as some others. For example, Cinderella and Dokken are two that I would put way above this band. Also, some of the European bands like Skagerrak, Treat, Pretty Maids, Bonfire, miles better, much more talented all round, I would say. I just don't get the big deal about this band, I'm really sorry. I do prefer the EP. I have the EP as well, on cassette and record, and I don't mind that, that's okay, but anything after, I've listened to a couple of their albums and they just don't blow me away, so I think this is a fairly poor album. And that's my crappy albums. I don't know what I'm going to do with them all, but I should really consider thinking about what I'm going to do with them. As far as I can tell you one thing, the Adam Bomb one will be getting kept, simply because of the Steve Clark thing here. That kind of goes down as part of my Steve collection more than anything else. But yeah, anyway guys, that's it for now. Put your comments down below, and I've seen a few of the other ones and I've been surprised at some of their picks for rubbish albums, stuff I like and stuff, so I'm sure there's albums here that people like as well. Anyway, I hope you'll all come back and watch my next video, which will probably be an update of sorts soon. Take care and thanks for watching. Bye just now.